Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. Happy Friday. Shout out if you're out there. Let me know you're here, and also let me know if you can hear me. I hope everybody is having a good week and getting ready for the weekend, and hopefully it'll be a model railroading weekend or other hobby. Tonight we'll catch you up on where I'm at. Last weekend, I didn't do much actual modeling because of the Twin Cities division of the NMRA having their RPM meet called the Modelers Retreat. And but I'm going to show you a picture of the table and what I presented there as well. Hi, Mom. Welcome in. Happy to have you in here. I'm doing some work for my mom and her miniature business, and I have an update on that as well. She got a sneak peek because she's Mom, so we'll talk about that as well, and hopefully I'll get to hear from some of you and what you've been working on, and see your progress as well. So let's go ahead and get rid of my little sign, my favorite little sign. So I did try to do some more decal work on the cab car, which is the next car in the AP program that I'm trying to do. And so, I got this side done. There's not a lot of decaling to do for New Jersey Transit cars on the sides. There's going to be some on the front, and then that I also did, and then working on the other side. So, and this is close to the model. They don't have the decals that are exact for the model out there, but this is a really good representation. The handicap sign was a little different. You really can't see there. It's very small. If the camera would stop moving, see if I can get it to focus in. Not really, but you can see the outline. It's a little bit different. It's a bigger sign on the prototype and a different color, but that would still work. Then they have the car number on the side. That's the other thing. If I was going for an exact prototype of the cab cars, the decals that are available from Micromark are not specific to the cab car. So they are 87,946, and they're New Jersey Transit passenger cars, 1990 plus. So they didn't come out exact, but one of the things I had to do with these is the stickers, I have a bunch of these. So the New Jersey Transit stripes and wording come separate at the end here, but on the prototype they overlap. So I was able to do that successfully on either end here. Hey Tim, welcome in. Art, nice to see you. Appreciate you coming in. And then there's a smaller number here. And I was able, and it was actually the way they come on the sticker sheet. The background of it, that white background, is separate. So I had to layer decals there. That was a new skill for me. And it came out pretty good on this side. I did make an error because this is the cab car front. The stripe on the cab car front on the prototype actually goes over this window. I do have plenty of extra pieces, I could still fix that. You can see I scratched it here as well. So I could certainly try to remove those or kind of decal over them a little bit and see if I can get that a little bit closer. And so the other one that I did was let's pull out here, was the front end. So that's going to come out a little bit blurry. Try and get my finger in there to see if it will focus. And it won't focus very well, so I apologize for that. But there's the New Jersey Transit decal, and the number was separate, and I added that to the front end. And then I went to work on this side, and I went through several of these decals, these stripe decals, and they're breaking up on me. And I'm using, we talked about last time, the micro scale decal film, liquid decal film, and it's helped quite a bit, but it hasn't helped enough. And these have been cracking when I've been taking them off. When you're doing stripes like this, you don't want to let it curl up in the water when you're separating the decal. The most success I've had was when I've put the decal in, I've put it in upside down, and I constantly pressed on the back to keep it straight, and I've had the most success. Obviously this one cracked still, but this is the best one on this side that I've had. And I still have plenty of supplies left. I'll continue to try to do that. I was also thinking of, hey, Ken, welcome in. Nice to have you in here. Great job on the Modelers Retreat. Really enjoyed it. I was thinking about taking one of the other shells and trying some other things between just actual like acrylic paint or the paint pens I have from the ones that I was using for the graffiti are these Posca pens. So I was thinking of trying that. It's truly a straight paint pen there as well. So we'll see how I progress with this, but it's kind of been a stall on that. Through frustration, I've had to walk away. Now, in general, the decal when it's on looks fine, and it's hard to tell from this distance, but it's going to make it easier to take the decals out of the window because they're coming apart on their own around the window, and I could use a paint pen or something like that to color in the window a little bit. And then before I put any type of glass in before that, I did, to protect the electronics, I used painter's tape when I'm working on the decals because I'm working with the solutions, the Microset, Microsol, and water. So to protect them, I just use painter's tape. And apparently got a little something here from, I don't know why that got there. And then for the electronics, I was hoping to win a gift certificate to Tony's Train Exchange last night, on the last night of NERX, because I want to get a current keeper for this. But the next thing, even without the current keeper, is to get the wiring set up on the underbody. I got the right tubing, the right brass tubes for the wheel sets. I just got to put some solder on those and get the wires connected to those, and then eventually connected to the decoder, so we can try it out on the layout. But I wanted to get the exterior done. Also on there are also details still left to do on the ends, on both ends. This end has to get some some bars and railings, and then this end has a few other details on there. And then there's also well, this is a little bit better picture of the decals there, but there are also stripes, safety stripes to put on. And again, these are the wrong safety stripes to directly apply. But looking at the prototype, if you cut out the black stripes with a little bit of the, I think it was the black stripes, with a little bit of the orange on it, on each end of it, it will come out right. But when I first tried to do that, had a lot of trouble. But I'll come back to that and then get the details on over top of that to hopefully finish this out. So the goal is now to get this done by our May Thousand Lakes Region Convention in Wilmer, Minnesota. I've registered. I use online, and I've booked a hotel room. Now I have to pay for the convention. That's the last step, but I'm really set to go for that. And I'm really hoping to get this done. What I'm going to show you next is for the International Dollhouse Miniature Show in Chicago for my mother. So that's in April. So I have to get that done, and that's mostly done. The table's done. The setup's kind of done. I'm doing some extra stuff. We're gonna have some choice of trains, which we didn't. I've only ever had one that I've shown for it, and I'll show you what I've done on that. But the hope is to get this all completed for the May convention to be evaluated for the AP. The flat car that I've shown you throughout, that's done. Although I have to repair those stupid stirrups again. And then inspired by me, what structures are you working on that I've inspired you on, Ken? Why would you clean up your workbench, Tim? No, you're not supposed to clean up your workbench. You're supposed to just work around other stuff and just keep piling it up. That being said, here's my workbench and it's clean, but I get a pass because it's for the show tonight. It'll get messed up again this weekend. But anyway, so that's where I'm at with the cab car. So we're getting close, but that'll be. I'll still have some time to work on that. So let me get this one out of the way. Where I can break things. And so let's talk about the modelers routine. I just want to see if I can show you this. So this was my table at the modelers retreat, and it focused on it focused on mainly on the 3D printing that I started to do. So you can see here is the completed train table and set up with the child watching on there on the bench. And it's the idea is for it to be an eye catcher, and I let my mom know that while it's a captive audience at the modelers retreat because they're all model railroaders, it did get tons of comments. Everybody stopped and looked at it and had comments about it. The main one was the one I was going for. It brought them back memories. It was nostalgic to them. I had a few cutes and things like that, but the main comment was that it brought back memories. And that was the idea, because we want we want people to stop at my mom's booth at the show, and we want them to have that nostalgia, because that's what's going to get them buying things. And even if it's not buying any of the any 3D printed stuff, she has plenty of other fine art, dollhouse miniatures, that will, if they're in the mood to be nostalgic, they're gonna buy. So it's really meant to be an eye catcher, um, and that sort of thing. So I showed that off. Then I showed off a number of cars that I 3D printed that I've shown on this live stream, including, and I separated them out from what I designed and printed, and what I've printed from other people. That's what we need, Tim. We need time lapse photography of your bench as it gets dirtier and messier and cluttered, and see if you come out on top with the projects you were trying to work on. And so the idea here was to promote, 3D printing in the hobby, and there were plenty of people in at the modelers retreat, who do 3D printing at some level, or buy 3D prints, or use 3D printings touch their layouts. I thought maybe we should have like a 3D printing corner or area where all of us who are into the 3D printing, it would have been nice to have something like that. But we were all spread out, which was good too. And so I just, I explained what was made, what I designed and made, and what other people designed. And a number of people took those cards that you see up front. I just like business card size thing, and I gave them websites where they could find 3D prints for model railroading. There's also, I gave them the Facebook group. There's a Facebook group out there, and I'm sure there are others for 3D printing. And then, over to your left, that was all the other modeling that I've done. I didn't have the Stuff Your Face building, which was the Mind Mount Models, Wiley's Tavern, that I made into the Stuff Your Face restaurant. I didn't have that last year. I had left that at home by accident. And so I brought it this year. And ironically, I had meant to bring the abandoned depot and forgot that one this year. So that'll have to go next year. I brought the car I detailed, that Sioux Line flat car. I detailed making a pipe load, which I've also got a video if anybody's interested, dedicated to that pipe load. Then in front of that, you have the flat car that I built and the paperwork for the AP certificate. And over to the left, I just displayed the underbody upside down in the shell of the cab car to show people and explain to them what I did on it, and showed them the one part that's 3D printed, and then in that little cylinder I had some other 3D printed parts I showed against what was done with styrene to show people what could be done. And so it was a good time. I made it to, I think, 2.5 clinics. I actually learned something that I'm going to try when I build the bridge part of the track for the Northeast Corridor, that actually connects to the station, because it's a raised platform on this bridge. And so that'll be my bridge requirement. And I started using insulation foam and cutting out the bricks to look like they do on the actual. It is, for one, it's really tedious. Two, it's not exact, or it's not close to exact even. And and so when I was I think it was the last clinic of the day, actually, at the modelers retreat, where the Stone Arch Bridge was featured, which is in Minneapolis for those of you out of town. And the way the modeler did it was using casting materials and cast it. So I'm looking to try and do that. I think it would just come out nicer. It's not even about being easier. I think it would just come out nicer. So I learned that there. And then the night before, also want to shout out to Dave Voss is one of the, as Ken would say, the oldest modeler in our group. And he's been around forever. And he had about 153 pictures of railroading in the Twin Cities, and from the 60s to the 90s. And as old as he may be, he's excited for and would like to get back out there and take pictures of the same areas in 2025 and do comparisons, which would be really neat. That was really inspiring, even though I don't model the Twin Cities. That was a fun time. So overall, that was a fun time. So if you didn't catch it this year, definitely please try and catch it next year when we do it again. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. If you remember back, that actually was I was actually correcting a mistake. So maybe I'm a good modeler now, because they say the best modelers learn how to cover up their mistakes. And so the weathering on the deck was all about covering up. It wasn't a mistake. It was just too dark. So I was using the Hunter Line stain. It was the creosote black stain, which is mostly used for, the wood ties and bridges and things like that. And it was just too dark. And even if I did it lightly or dipped the wood for a second, it was just too dark, and it was very uniform. So I just use a dry brushing method with a burnt umber and a rotten white, which is just an off white, and it came out really good. And then I made sure not to bunch up the planks that were all white or all burnt umber or something. So that was really good how that came out. I'm really impressed, and I don't think that will be necessarily a judged piece or an evaluated piece of the puzzle for that car, but that was fun that it came out the way it did. So I appreciate that. So let's see here. So the next thing that my mom asked me to work on was something to put on the wall or on the floor around the table to just give it more atmosphere. And so I've been racking my brain and looking around at things that I could try and do, trying to think of train rooms. And, it wouldn't be easy to 3D print signs. I don't have a lot of colors. Otherwise, I would 3D print, railroad heralds, for instance, to put on the wall, because this display that this table is going to be on is going to be on a flat piece of wood and then a wall behind it. So I thought, what else do people with lots of trains do? They display them. So I set out to build a wall display. And as you know, my measuring is horrible. So this came out super long. It also had all kinds of problems. I don't know if you could see, that's not a flat back. And you can see all the problems that it had in its printing. So I had to solve those. But the main thing is I had to solve it and make it look good as far as with with the trains that we have. So what I was trying to measure out was putting, and white on white's probably not great, but putting them in here like you would normally do, and then have that, have track in there. This all measured out, but when I went to put a piece of track in, it wasn't going to fit. So I had to fix those. So I had to fix the length, I had to fix the printing problems themselves, and I did make sure I could get a piece of track in there. So after some modification, I came up with this guy. So a much more manageable length to put on against the table, which is going to be a bit longer. The table's probably more like this length, so this will look better on the wall. Put four shelves in here, and then I started with one piece of track in there, and what I will do is I'll glue these in place, but we'll have these now fit just enough in here, and so we'll have this on the display. Now I also found another train. My mom likes the toy train, and she likes the idea of the toy train, and I think it works well. But I also was still wanting something a little more Lionel-like, and I came across this one. Again, this is not my design. It is a passenger one, and I was looking kind of for a freight, but I wasn't finding one that was easy to print. And what I find amazing is in printing this, it was designed, these are all separate cars, but the way they designed the print, they figured out how to print it so that they're all coupled together and looped together, and those are closed loops on there. Obviously, this is a little long, so I broke up, and a little long. It's also a little long for the train table itself, so I broke it up into a 4-car set here, and this will also fit in here. And so the next thing I will do with these is I'll paint them so that we can display this. And I went about printing another 2 sets of the cars. So I happen to have gray in there, so I painted them and I printed them in gray. We'll have to get the couplers and the wheels on that you see on the white ones. We'll have to get those on, so that'll be next project. Now here's a good example, and I think I explained this last time, but not sure. I used a toothpick. A toothpick fit in here well, so let's see if we can do a little more focus. So there we go. So toothpick fit in there well, but didn't really fit on the ends well. So I glued them flat. But there is an advantage to the way the person who made this printed them, and you can't see in this light I have. There we go. It actually has a hole in there. And the toothpick doesn't fit that hole, but I did find because now I have 1,000 spare parts of styrene. I found a rod that would work in there, and this 1/6 rod, number 222, will fit in there. And so with the rest of these that I'm going to work on, it'll be, I think, easier to do. So one thing to know about 3D printing is not all glues work on everything. So with styrene and styrene types of plastic, you can melt the plastic with solvent glue, which I use the Tamiya extra thin, and the Plastrux Plastaweld. I think they're Plastaweld, or I haven't gotten a bottle of that because I've been using the Tamiya, but I've used those too, and those glue by melting the pieces together. Not all plastics melt to those glues, so you can use anything that's like a multi-surface bond. So super glue is one of those. These I probably could do a white glue even, but we'll get back to doing that and get these all set up and ready to go. the other thing that I didn't think I could do it with the steam engine, but what's most popular, or what I think is most popular with um, like American Flyer um, and Lionel, is the Santa Fe. And so I was wondering, I'm thinking, even though this is modern, can I do like that silver and red, the Santa Fe colors? So we'll see what we come up with again. And this is all easily printable. So if I mess up on these, I can just start over and print another one out. And these take no time at all to print, these trains. So that's what's on deck for that. One other thing that I was working on is this needs some glass to it. So I've started, this is not even enough, but it would help if I'm on camera here. But this is all, everything's measured in 1 millimeter on here. So all these shelves are 1 millimeter, and there's a gap in here. That's a millimeter gap. And so that's just enough where I'll be able to put some plastic or like this stuff on here as the glass. And I can't tell you how far this has gotten me, but this Static King box from Woodland Scenics for the static grass has gotten me a lot of use out of this. For it's a little thick on HO scale buildings for windows, but I think it'll work just fine with this if I can get it just cut just right. This is a little bit off, so I'll have to try and cut another one out, but we'll get the track in here. This track takes 10 minutes to print, and so I printed a bunch of these, and we'll cut them down to fit in here like this one, and glue the trains onto them, and then we'll have a display case to put on the wall, and that'll enhance the look, I think, to this. So that goes. That's going on. I thought you had kids just to do the chores, but yeah. But that's what you do. You challenged me to do this, and it wasn't like I challenged you. She just said, "Could you do this?" And I said, "Yeah, I could do that." And sure enough, I'm creating stuff I never thought I would create. So I have to say I appreciate the push to do it, and I hope that it gets people to actually stop at the booth, and instead of, I don't know what I'll have a couple of printed tables. I actually have a few that I printed out in case people want to take them home. And we could charge a couple dollars, but I'd rather you sell, your $1,500 tables that you have there, and your $800 pieces and things like that. So as long as this just gets people to stop by, I'll be happy. And if you make some other money off of it, that would be wonderful. So that's the update. One other update is, I haven't been to a train show or anything in a while. One of the things I got a little frustrated with is most of the same vendors show up, in the same area, in the same shows. But I haven't ever been to Randolph, Minnesota. Has these Randolph train days, which includes a swap meet, and I expect to see some of the same vendors there, but I haven't been to one a train show in a while. And I did get a bonus at work, and Gopher Girl said that she would allow me to have some of that bonus before it goes to pay down some of our bills. And so maybe I'll spend some at the swap meet or something. I'll go see what they have. I'm sure some of the other Twin Cities folks will be there. So So yeah, so looking forward to that. But I'm hopeful, I'll be watching basketball. It is basketball time with March Madness going on. But I'll certainly be working on um, this setup and trying, I do some soldering. I wish I could do some and show you some soldering that I do, but just the setup I have isn't really conducive to that until I get some fancy cameras and don't need the computer right over top of me and everything. Um, then um, because I like doing soldering projects and things like that, and it's stuff that I can show you and hopefully help you learn from. Um, but yeah, that's what I've been working on. So, um, what has everybody else been working on? Like Tim, what projects do you specifically have going on? Um, yeah, we usually see each other art when we're at the shows. Um, what's the show? The one I miss the most probably right now is the one where we go for donuts afterwards and the round table of food. What show is that one that we stop in? I know I didn't go this time around. I don't think I went, but I can't even remember which one that is. And we're lucky in the Twin Cities to have a number of shows. I just get a little frustrated when it's the same uh, dealers. Oh, North Metro. Okay, that's the one where it's below the restaurant, the North Metro layout, which is a fantastic layout. Um, there's you know I guess the reason I get a little frustrated with some of them is just because there isn't a lot of variety when you have the same vendors. And if I'm not buying from those vendors, if you're buying from those vendors, then it's great. Um, but there's, Perry's Hobbies always shows up, but they're retail. Um, you're not going to find real deals there. All of their stuff is retail priced. Then when it comes to the uh, great is it the Great Train Show? That's usually at Canterbury Park now. Um, another dealer now takes up almost a whole row, and with my dealings with him, I swore off buying anything from him. He has a lot of great stuff, but one year when I was doing the N scale, he had um, he had um, a BNSF engine, and Spring Creek did that show all the time. The folks down in Deschler, Nebraska, come up. The mom and the mother and father and that group come up, and they have a great place. They had the same engine but a um, different road name, and I really wanted the BNSF one. And they were cheaper than he was, and I also had in my hands, I had $94 worth of other stuff that I was going to buy. And he wouldn't come down in price. And he was trying to figure out, and I get that he was selling stuff, 30% below retail, which is pretty standard for a lot of retailers that do shows. And I get that he was doing that, but I had evidence um, a um, of a cheaper, the same engine cheaper, and it wasn't that much cheaper. It was just a little bit cheaper, and it was something he just refused to come down. He pulled out his calculator, trying to say whether he could do it, and then he came back and said, "No, I can't do that." And he goes, and I can sell that one. Um, and um, the that really kind of made me mad because he wasn't willing to even stretch it a little bit, and then he was making the excuse of, well, I can sell that one. Well, then why is it still on your shelf anyway? So then he's like, oh, I can check this other stuff out, and I just handed it to him, and he was like act shocked that I said, I'm not buying from you. You couldn't even make a deal. Now you're going to lose not only the engine sale, but you're going to lose $94 other dollars. And since then I've avoided him and his. I try not to look at it because he does have a lot of great stuff, and a lot of stuff you don't find he still has. Shocker if he's not helping make deals with you or anything, but so I try to avoid him. So that's a little frustrating, to see the same dealers when you have those kind of experiences. Um, and so I was looking for the BNSF engine, so I didn't actually buy the other one from Spring Creek. And um, I like swap meet style places too, because you have other people selling other stuff and it's not just all the same ones. So and since it's being touted as a swap meet, I'm hoping to see some good stuff at Randolph tomorrow. Um, So I like Granite City Train Show in St. Cloud too, Tim. I've been there a number of times. I used to go because Gopher Girl wouldn't go with me. I used to go, um, and then there was a Mexican restaurant in town that I would always stop at, and I'd bring that home for her. Her favorite is Mexican food, um, and so I've gone a number of times to the Granite City uh, train show, and it's not, I I'm from out east, so an hour and change drive or an hour drive and going there, and there's no traffic. It's not like the East Coast, so to me it's nothing to make that drive. um, so but I haven't been back there in a couple of years either. That stupid showstopper got in the way of a lot of things and getting back to doing those different shows. And so when it came up again the last time, I just wasn't excited to go. The other thing too for me, is, I need to be I need to have something that I'm working on or looking for that I'm not finding anywhere. Um, So it gives me the excuse, since I'm working on an East Coast railroad, to say, okay, I'm going to go there and look to find things for the East Coast that I can't find anywhere else in the Twin Cities area. So that gives me an excuse to go for sure. But I don't love to go and then pay the money to get in the door and then just not come away with anything. Um, I kind of, to rationalize paying the door fee, whether it's $5, $6, $7. I think tomorrow it's $7. Is I consider that e- equal to shipping. So whatever I buy, it's like I'm buying something and I'm getting it shipped. And then if I buy a lot of stuff, then that $7 wouldn't mean anything to me. But even some of the train shows are getting more and more expensive, and that's why I didn't go to Canterbury the last time, I don't think, um, because it was $12. Then it was 11 if you bought in advance. There is an NMRA discount for the Great Train Show, but the code is wrong on the NMRA website, and I've reached out to both um, the show runner and the NMRA together to say, hey, the code's not working. He said, oh, the code works. And then he gave me the code, and it was different than what was on the website. And I have yet to see it update on the NMRA website. But that one's getting expensive. And again, if the one guy I don't buy from, and Perry's Hobbies takes up about a half a row and he takes up a whole row, then it really knocks down, going there. Now, there, at a show like that, you have layouts that you can go see. You have other dealers that you can see, so it's not a bad deal or anything like that. But you know, um, I I really just, I need to have something that I'm going to look for. And so, um, certainly tomorrow I'll be looking for East Coast stuff. No, I won't find it. But I'll be looking for more like the deals and like open bags of styrene and things like that. If I can get those for cheap, I will. One of the last swap meets I went to, I was pulling out open bags of styrene, and the guy's like, $20 and you can have the whole box. And I was like, well, I didn't need everything that was in there, and there was a bunch of stuff that was of no use to me, that wasn't styrene and stuff, so I didn't go for it. But I walked away with a bag of styrene for $2, that or $1 or whatever. And so if I can find deals like that, I really enjoy that. And then I have more junk that I can use to work with stuff. What I would like to see more of is, I would love to see more tool dealers at these shows. And you don't see that much. It's a lot of people, especially if they're swap meets, they're trying to get rid of stuff. Then you have people who are who just have lots of stock and stuff, and then you have the retailers, but you don't have the tool guys that you have at some of the bigger shows. That would be nice to have, because I'd rather buy them at the shows, because I know I can get better deals at the shows than at the hobby shop and stuff. So if anybody knows of a show where we have tool dealers showing up, that would be cool to know. So trying to think if I did any other printing. I don't think I did any other printing. I was trying to convince Ken and to get more stickers. I don't know how many people noticed. Nobody commented on it. But the badge that I used, or name tag that I used, even though they had little adhesive ones and stuff, is actually 3D printed. And that's why I was asking Ken if you had any of the Twin Cities stickers left, because there's a way to print. I just don't have all the colors, but eventually, if I have all the colors, I want to print the Twin Cities logo. But I think the lettering is, I don't know if you can even see it, but it is raised. It's like 0.6 millimeter. And my printing must be getting a little better, because I haven't been able to print less than a millimeter, but these are like 0.6 millimeters. So the Twin Cities division and my name are all raised, and then it's just a millimeter thick with PLA. And I made it the size of our name tags, and so I have it here, and I wore that around, but it's really missing the logo. So I need to either get some filament with the colors and get the logo done, or see if we can get more stickers, and then I could put a sticker on there. I was thinking of, we had these cards from, this is last year's, but we have these cards for at the retreat. I could simply cut out and put it on there, and it didn't bother. I mean, it's a big name tag and everything, but it didn't bother me at all to have this on at 1 millimeter or 1.6 millimeters high in total. It's nothing. It weighs nothing, and it's like having the paper. So another little side project I did to keep me occupied as I'm trying to corral myself into um, all of the AP stuff that I have to do. Um, so Greenberg show, yep. So the Greenberg show it's basically run now. The greatest hobby train show, the Greenberg show, they're all run by the same person now. Um, and when I went with my mother to a Greenberg show out in New Jersey, they have them like twice a year, not too far from where my mom lives, and they're big. It's big. It's pretty huge compared to out here. They have the space for it though too. A lot. What I noticed was they had a lot of Lionel, an overwhelming amount of Lionel and O scale stuff, but that's that's actually where I got 2 bottles of the Hunter line stain was from a tool guy out there, and there were a couple of tool guys out there. That's where I spent most of my time. Were in the tool shop, in the tool booths, and had the best deals and stuff. So not bad. And the cost. So the cost of that Greenberg train show was the same as going to it's the world's greatest hobby show. It's the same price because it's the same people, and they you get a better deal out east if you're talking number of dealers and number of tables. It's just much bigger. It's a little more worth it to me. But that's just a matter. I'm sure shows like that in other big cities are going to be just as big. I got a chance, going out to the Dollhouse Miniature Show where I meet my mother every year in Chicago. They have at the DuPage County Fairgrounds, they have a model railroad show every month, and it's outdoors in the summer months and it's indoors otherwise. And sort of like the Springfield train show, they have multiple buildings. They actually have 3 buildings, much smaller scale, and it's much smaller than when we first went. When we first went, that show was gigantic. It's very small now, but that's where I hit the jackpot and got all of those Horizon cars that I'm working on now. So that ended up being very good, but it was super small, and there just wasn't a lot there otherwise. So sorry I gripe tonight. I'm not usually griper when I'm talking to other people. If you Gopher Girl will tell you I'm a griper because behind closed doors I certainly gripe a lot. But yeah, train shows just are a thing. When I do meet up with people, I being a lone modeler, I don't always make plans to meet up with. I don't make plans usually to meet up with other Twin Cities division folks, but when I do, it's really nice to be included, and they do include me, and that's how I got to understand the whole deal behind the donuts and the round table where they come around to your and they just dump food on your plate for you unless you tell them to stop. So that was a good time. And that's the North Metro show where we've done that. So all right. So I think that since that's the only updates that I have, I feel like I have to get moving and do some more work because I feel like I don't have a lot of updates. But I hope it does show you that I am working on stuff, and I hope that it, you know, inspires you to also work on your own stuff. And as my motto always goes, just jump in and try something new, or just try to do something, repeat something, and just do is really what it is. Just jump in and do something. And um, I really appreciate everybody hanging out with me tonight. And I usually we go about an hour and 20 minutes or so, but I think I'm going to go ahead and get ready for the Randolph show tomorrow, and say again, have a great weekend, and I hope that you enjoy your model railroading adventures and have a good night.